As a licensed clinical psychologist, I've heard my fair share of betrayal stories. But this one left even me speechless. Jason had been married to Rachel for 5 years. From the very beginning, their relationship burned hot, the kind of whirlwind romance that sweeps you off your feet and convinces you that maybe, just maybe, true love isn't just a Hollywood myth. Jason believed in them. In what they had. Sure, they argued, who doesn't? But in his eyes it was all part of loving someone deeply. Rachel, he thought, was just a bit fiery. Quick with words, unapologetically blunt. But she was also funny, confident, and refreshingly direct. That sharpness of hers, the same sharpness that once felt electric, turned out to be the perfect disguise. A masterclass in deception. The first signs came subtly, almost imperceptibly. It started a few months ago when Rachel suddenly became obsessed with going to the gym. Every day. Even Sundays. Neither of them had ever been gym rats. In fact, they often joked about the extra pounds they picked up since the honeymoon phase, so Jason encouraged her. He wanted her to feel good about herself. But it wasn't just the workouts. She started leaving the house looking like she was ready for a photo shoot, not a spin class. Her hair always styled, her clothes too coordinated, and she wore perfume so strong it lingered for hours after she got home. Jason wanted to believe she was simply working on herself, building confidence, seeking independence. And like a fool, he clapped for her every step of the way. The truth came crashing down over a cheeseburger receipt. It was an average Tuesday. Rachel had left early for her gym session and said she'd swing by the grocery store after. Jason, working from home, opened their junk drawer to grab a charger and spotted a crumpled thermal paper slip, barely holding onto its ink. He almost tossed it, but something made him pause. Curiosity instinct, maybe something deeper. The receipt was from Burger Zone. 2 double cheeseburgers, 2 large fries, and 2 milkshakes. Timestamp, 11:18 p.m. Jason stared at it like it had physically burned his fingers. Because just that night, Rachel had told him she was at her mom's. Something urgent about a broken water heater. She described it in vivid detail, the cold, the panic, the drama. But this greasy evidence told a different story. Burger Zone was near the gym, sure, but Rachel hadn't eaten fast food since 2020. She lectured him every time he craved a nugget. That stuff's poison, she'd say, practically gagging at his cravings. And now she was out wolfing down a double cheeseburger at nearly midnight? It wasn't the burger. It was the second combo. The extra milkshake. Who the hell was she sharing it with? Jason didn't confront her right away. That night, over quinoa salad, yes, irony at its cruelest, he sat across from her and studied her face as she giggled at a TikTok video. Her lips moved with ease, laughing, smiling, lying. And he couldn't stop staring at them. Not with love. With rage. The next day he told her he needed to borrow her car. Nothing strange, they often swapped depending on errands. But this time, Jason had a purpose. While she showered, he checked the vehicle's GPS history. There it was. 3 destinations. Burger Zone. Titan Fit Gym. The Redwood Boutique Hotel. That last one? That's not your average wellness center. The Redwood was known in town for its luxury rooms and hourly rates. Jason's pulse pounded in his ears. His hands turned slick with sweat. She was cheating. And she didn't even try to hide it well. She thought he was too stupid, too trusting to notice. She insulted his intelligence with every scented lie and sugar-coated alibi. Still, he said nothing. He needed more. He wanted her to fall into her own trap. That night, he waited up. She came home around 11:30 p.m., glowing, flawless in her workout gear, her ponytail bouncing like she'd just been on a runway instead of a treadmill. He greeted her calmly. How was the gym? She dropped her bag and exhaled dramatically. Ugh, brutal. Cardio and weights tonight. I almost died. Jason smiled tightly. Did you stop by Burger Zone after? She paused. Just for a split second. But Jason caught it. What? She laughed, confused. No. What are you talking about? He held up the receipt. She studied it like it was a foreign object, then let out a forced chuckle. Oh, that must have been from weeks ago. I went there with Jessica after yoga once. I totally forgot. After yoga? Jason asked, eyes narrowing. At 11 p.m.? Rachel's expression darkened. Her arms crossed, her lips tightened. Are you seriously going through my stuff now? What, you don't trust me? Are you spying on me like some paranoid freak? There it was, the deflection, the victim card. Textbook manipulation. Jason didn't sleep that night. He lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, planning. Because if she blew up over a burger receipt, she was going to hate what he had planned next. The following morning, Jason took the day off. He drove straight to Titan Fit Gym and turned on his charm for the receptionist. Told her he was thinking of joining his wife worked out there and raved about the place. "Oh nice," she said. "What's her name?" "Rachel Miller." The receptionist's face twitched. "Oh yeah. Rachel. She comes in sometimes. Usually trains with Victor. Victor. One of our personal trainers. Real friendly guy." That was all Jason needed. But it wasn't all he found. Back home, while Rachel showered, he grabbed her old iPad, the one she'd forgotten still synced with her Google account. There they were. Messages. Photos. Voice notes. Victor. Heart emojis. Gym mirror selfies. Voice recordings of flirtatious whispers. Lines like, "Can't stop thinking about last night." And the pictures. A shirtless Victor. Rachel wearing his shirt in the same beige-walled room Jason recognized from the hotel's Google listing. His hands shook. He felt like the ground beneath him had cracked open. But nothing compared to the screenshot that came next, a conversation with her friend Jessica. "If he finds out, I'll make something up. He's so slow to catch on." She wasn't just cheating. She was laughing at him. That night he didn't wait. He made her favorite pasta because of course he did. He still played the good guy to the bitter end. Sat across from her, calm. Composed. "Rachel," he said, his voice razor sharp. "Who's Victor?" Her face went pale. She didn't even try to lie. "Excuse me. I'm asking once. Who is Victor?" She hesitated. "He's a trainer at the gym." "Why? Just a trainer?" "Sometimes we work out together." Jason's eyes didn't blink. "Do you also work out at the Redwood Hotel?" Boom. "Some people say the truth sets you free. But I've seen it do something else too, it exposes the rot." And in Jason's case, it tore off the final layer of illusion he had left. When he confronted Rachel about the hotel, her act fell apart in slow motion. Her eyes widened like a deer caught in headlights, but she still tried to lie. "What? What hotel? I don't even know what you're talking about. You sound insane." Jason didn't argue. He simply placed the iPad in front of her. The screen was already open. The photos visible. Each swipe, click, 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 was a nail in the coffin. One after another. No room left for doubt. Rachel didn't even try to snatch it away. Instead, she did what manipulators do when cornered. She screamed, "You're invading my privacy. You have no right to go through my things." Jason looked her dead in the eye, calm as ever. "And you? You think you have the right to screw another man while I'm out here paying the bills and holding this household together." Then it came, the poison. Raw and venomous, like acid poured over a fresh wound. "You know what? Yes, I'm with him. Because I feel alive with him. Because you're boring. Because you stopped being a real man a long time ago." It wasn't the confession that broke him, he already knew. It was the contempt. The way she twisted the knife. No shame. No remorse. And instead of yelling, Jason laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh that echoed through the walls of their dying marriage. "Thank you, Rachel," he said, standing up. "Finally. You said something honest." He went straight to their bedroom. No more talking. No more pretending. He grabbed a duffel bag and started stuffing it with whatever essentials he could find. He wasn't going to sleep under the same roof as that woman another night. No. That mask had slipped off for good, and what he saw underneath wasn't worth salvaging. He drove to his brother Eric's place. No text. No call. No explanation. And from Rachel? Not a word. Nothing. Silence. But it wasn't the silence of confusion. It was the silence of someone who knows they've been caught, someone who's run out of lies and is too proud to beg. When Jason walked in, Eric didn't need details. He opened the door and asked quietly, "Did it happen?" Jason nodded. Then he broke. Fell into his brother's arms like a man who had just walked through fire and barely made it out. And then the tears came. Raw. Violent. The kind of sobbing that only happens when the illusion of love dies. He didn't cry because he lost Rachel. He cried because he lost the version of her he wanted to believe in. He cried for every moment she made him feel guilty. Every time she played the victim while stabbing him in the back. He cried for himself. For trusting her. For giving her the best of him while she gave him lies dressed up in perfume and tight gym leggings. That night, he didn't sleep, just lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Replaying every conversation. Every gaslighting argument. every "you're imagining things" moment. It all fit now. Every missing puzzle piece was suddenly clear. Rachel hadn't just cheated on him physically. She had emotionally checked out a long time ago. Her words, her eyes, the way she looked through him instead of at him. All of it had been a performance. A coward's performance. The next morning, still no message. Not a single "I'm sorry." Nothing. Just silence. But this silence tasted different. Tasted like freedom. Like the first inhale of dignity after nearly drowning. By Thursday morning, Jason had a goal. He wasn't going to drown with her. He went straight to the bank and checked their joint accounts. And of course, she'd already made her move. A few days earlier, Rachel had quietly transferred a sizable chunk of their savings into her personal account. She had planned it. Calculated it. Perfect. Jason wasn't angry, he was ready. He called a lawyer. Explained everything. Showed him the messages, the receipts, the photos. And the attorney said something Jason would never forget. "You're already out of the emotional game. Now it's about strategy. Because she's going to try and flip the script. Make you the villain." And that warning couldn't have been more accurate. That same night, Rachel finally messaged him. Her first attempt at contact since he left. "Can we just talk calmly? Don't you think you're overreacting?" Overreacting. Jason burst out laughing. Actually laughing full-throated. Lying back on the bed with a crazed grin on his face. Felt good. Freeing. He replied with just one line. "I'm fine. Let's speak through lawyers. Enjoy the gym." She left him on read. 2 hours later, more messages. This time softer. A pathetic remix of old manipulations. "I never meant to hurt you. Things haven't been right between us for a while. You weren't there for me." Jason didn't reply. He blocked her. Not out of spite, but because there was nothing left she could say that mattered. 3 days later she showed up. At his brother's house. Unannounced. Crying. Mascara smudged. Shoulders hunched like a tragic heroine in some low-budget drama. His sister-in-law Megan saw her through the window and gave Jason a heads-up. She's here. She brought Tupperware. Looks like a funeral in heels." Jason came down. Not out of curiosity but for closure. He needed to see her with fresh eyes. Without the haze of love or illusion. Rachel stood there, face twisted in a performance of grief. "Please," she begged. "Let me talk." "It's not what you think." Jason cocked his head. "Oh? So Victor was just doing push-ups on top of you out of kindness?" Her mouth opened but no words came. She clutched the Tupperware like it was a peace offering. "I made lasagna," she stammered. "Your favorite." He raised an eyebrow. "Rachel, I'm not a dog. I don't come running for cheese-covered scraps." And just like that her tone flipped. The tears stopped. The guilt evaporated. The anger showed. "So that's it? 5 years and you throw me out like garbage?" Jason's voice was calm. Too calm. "You mean the way you tossed our marriage out the window while hooking up with your trainer in a hotel?" "Yeah. Exactly like that." Her face crumpled with rage. Because it didn't work. Because he didn't beg. Because he didn't fall for the performance. Then came the line. The grand finale. "I only did it because you were never there. Always working, always distracted. Never making time for me." The classic excuse. Jason took a deep breath. Not out of control but peace. "You know what, Rachel? You and Victor deserve each other. Two people who live off mirrors and excuses. I'm done begging for love where there's only ego." He closed the door. And felt free for the first time in years. He thought that was the final scene. But he had no idea. The curtain was about to rise again. Some people fall apart quietly. Others burn the whole house down on their way out. 3 days after slamming the door on Rachel for good, Jason received a text from his boss. "Hey, everything okay at home?" Something strange came through. Jason's heart skipped. Not from panic but from anger. He checked his work email and there it was. An anonymous message sent to Human Resources, claiming Jason was mentally unstable and potentially a threat to the workplace. There was only one person twisted and petty enough to pull something like that. Rachel. It reeked of desperation. The grammar was atrocious. The language overly dramatic. The accusations vague and unsupported. It wasn't a warning. It was a tantrum. A last-ditch attempt to cause chaos. But it backfired. Jason's boss literally laughed. "Whoever sent this doesn't know you at all," he said. "Seriously. Don't even worry about it. Take whatever time you need." Jason had already told him a sanitized version of what was going on at home. Enough to justify his recent time off. So the fake email didn't stick. It didn't even leave a dent. But still, something inside Jason shifted. Rachel didn't want closure. She wanted control. She couldn't stand the idea that Jason had walked away without begging, without falling apart, without making her feel powerful. And since she couldn't destroy him emotionally, she tried to destroy him professionally, and failed. That made Jason smile. But the circus wasn't over yet. One Friday around lunchtime, Jason was walking out of the office building when he saw him, the man from the photos, the cliché in the flesh, Victor, the trainer, the lover, leaning against a motorcycle like he was auditioning for Fast and Furious Dollar Store Edition. Arms crossed, sunglasses on, waiting. "You Jason?" he asked, pulling off his shades with dramatic flair. Jason didn't flinch. "You mean Rachel's ex-husband?" Victor scoffed. "Yeah, whatever. I just came to tell you to stay out of our relationship. It's done. Let it go." Jason laughed. Loud and unfiltered. A coworker walking by even turned to look. "Relationship?" Jason said. "You think that's what this is?" Victor stepped forward, puffing up his chest. "All biceps, no brains. She told me everything. Said you were toxic. Controlling. That you used to scream at her." Jason's face didn't move. But inside, fire. "You really bought that," he said coldly. "You poor bastard. Congrats, you're her new hero. For now. Give it 2 months and she'll say you're abusive because you didn't rinse your protein shaker." Victor bristled, trying to stand taller. "Look man. I'm just saying stay away. If you try to get back with her, it's gonna be a problem." Jason smiled. "Calm. Cold. Relax, champ. If I ever want a tossed salad of egos and lies, I'll give you a call." He walked away. No punches thrown. No drama. Just a man exiting a play he no longer starred in, leaving the actor behind, still fumbling his lines. Then came the twist. Few weeks passed. Jason felt himself healing. Things quieted down. He was sleeping again. Laughing again. Cooking meals that didn't carry emotional blackmail in Tupperware. And then, she texted. "I need to talk to you. It's urgent. It's about us. Rachel." He rolled his eyes. Same playbook. Same opening act. He ignored it. 3 days later an email popped up. Subject: "I'm pregnant." It hit him like a punch to the chest. Not because he believed it, but because he didn't. Not for a second. Because if Jason had learned one thing from that mess, it was that Rachel could lie with a straight face, with tears, with a smile, with lasagna. He replied with just one line. "Send me a scan. Date and name visible." Silence. The next day an image arrived. A blurry ultrasound. No name. No clear date. No credibility. Jason didn't panic. He went straight to his lawyer. His attorney didn't even blink. "Old trick," he said. "Classic move when the show's collapsing. Fake pregnancies are emotional grenades. Especially when they're out of leverage." Jason nodded. But the story wasn't done. 2 days later, another message from Rachel. This time laced with desperation. "I swear to God it's true. I'm not lying. I just wanted you to know. We can work through this." Then, something truly unexpected happened. Victor texted him. "Yes, Victor. Hey man. Not sure if the pregnancy thing is real. She told me it was mine too. But now she's ghosting me. Just figured you should know." And there it was. The curtain fell. She had told both of them the same lie. Trying to trap one of them. Or both. Whichever bit first. But Jason didn't feel rage. He didn't feel sadness. He felt embarrassment for her. She was no longer even an antagonist. Just a mess. A woman scrambling to hold on to control with fake ultrasounds and half-baked lies. She wasn't playing chess anymore. She was just throwing pawns around and hoping one stuck. Jason. He was out of the game. He was in the audience now, watching the drama unfold with popcorn in hand. A month passed. No contact. Jason lived. He went to therapy, learned to sleep again, took up cooking classes. No more manipulation meals. No more trauma marinated in guilt. And then one afternoon it happened. He ran into her. Of all places, the cereal aisle. Bright lights. Silence. Just the two of them. Rachel turned. Saw him. He saw her. And for a moment there was stillness. Total stillness. The end of a war. But not the end of the story, not quite yet. When Jason saw her standing there in the cereal aisle, there was no grand drama. Just two people with history, and a silence heavy enough to feel sacred. She looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. You look different. Jason nodded, calm. I feel different. There was no bitterness in his tone. No tension in his jaw. Just peace. Can we talk? She asked softly. He didn't answer, just gave a quiet nod. They stepped outside the store and walked until they found a bench near the parking lot. No yelling. No defenses. No manipulation. Just quiet honesty under a gray afternoon sky. And that's when she broke. I'm not pregnant, she admitted. I made it up. I was desperate. When you left, I felt so alone. I thought maybe you'd care. Maybe you'd come back. Jason didn't speak. She looked away, her voice cracking. I know I ruined everything. And I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know, you were the best thing I ever had. And I didn't know how to appreciate it. He looked at her. Not with hatred. Not with pity. With compassion. Rachel, he said gently, I hope you find peace. I truly do. But I'm no longer part of your story. Her eyes welled up. And this time, the tears weren't a performance. Jason could tell. For the first time, he saw her, the real her, beneath the layers of makeup, lies, and masks. They didn't hug. They didn't make promises. They just nodded at each other. And he walked away. Jason made it to his car with a lightness in his chest he hadn't felt in years. He went home, brewed a cup of coffee, and sat by the window. And as he looked out at the world, something happened that surprised even him. He smiled. Not because he'd won. Not out of revenge. But because it didn't hurt anymore. That was the real victory. Rachel had been a storm that tore everything down. But she was also the mirror that showed Jason how lost he had been. She forced him to confront the things he ignored. To stop accepting emotional crumbs. To stop silencing his pain just to keep a broken version of love intact. He never spoke to her again. And he didn't need to. Months passed. He moved into a new apartment. Gave his life a fresh coat of paint, literally and figuratively. And yes, he started dating someone new. It wasn't a fairy tale romance. Just a woman with a kind laugh and zero interest in playing emotional games. And honestly, that was paradise enough. He heard that Victor had left the gym and moved away. Maybe Rachel burned that bridge too. Maybe he realized he wasn't her salvation, just her next casualty. And Rachel? Well, she's probably still out there. Searching for herself in the eyes of strangers. In filtered selfies. In social media likes. In mirrors that reflect everything except who she really is. But Jason? He was no longer part of that loop. He had stepped out of the play. And now he watched from the audience. Not bitter. Just grateful to be free. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to Jason's story. I didn't share it for sympathy. I didn't write it for validation. I'm telling you this because someone needs to hear it, maybe you. When we love someone, we want to believe them. We want the fairy tale. We convince ourselves that the red flags are misunderstandings. That we're overreacting. That we're the problem. We shrink ourselves so they can fit. But here's the truth. Small blue diamond love shouldn't make you feel crazy. Small blue diamond love doesn't hide behind gym schedules and hotel check-ins. Small blue diamond love doesn't force you to become a detective just to feel secure. Small blue diamond love isn't made of lies and excuses dressed up as self-care. So if your gut is screaming, listen to it. If you're snooping, digging, searching, you've already lost more than you know. And if you uncover the truth, don't hold on to a lie just because it's easier than facing the end. Because on the other side of heartbreak, I promise you there's peace. There's air. There's clean silence. There's room for you to grow. Jason didn't just survive a toxic relationship. He rebuilt himself. And you can too. Don't be afraid to let go of someone who already let go of you a long time ago. Just because they're still standing next to you doesn't mean they haven't left. Let go. Do it for you. And if you're waiting for a sign, let this story be one.